Agile and testing. Have you guys felt a bias against testers in a development team where your immediate manager is a developer or has a developer background? Ugh, people, come on, let's do better. So I think since Agile came into the picture, teams had devs and testers on the same team being managed by a developer manager. Testers suffer a lot. Oh my goodness. I don't have my sound for this one. Managers expect testers to finish all testing within sprints, but doesn't fix the issue of developers delivering code late in sprint, leaving not much time to test. I think it makes sense to be managed by a person who has the same background as you have. It used to be like this only, but Agile has messed it up. Thoughts? Can this be fixed within the Agile framework? That is a great question, actually. That is a great question. All right, let's start the clock before we wrap this one up for the night. So, to be honest with you, you kind of have a point. Like, you do have a point, right? You have a point, and like in my let me see. Whatever. No, like all the roles that I had, my manager was not on the team. Um, so because in Agile you have a Scrum team or a Kanban team, whatever the case may be, with the developers, the product owner, the Scrum master, the developers, and whoever else might be part of the team, right? And then, for me at least, I've had a manager that's outside of the team. So, and that's the situation that I'm in now. And we have and at my current company, we have a whole QA team, chapter, things like that, which is separate from the developers. So I speak with a bunch of people all the time, right? And for us, QA, we have our metrics and things like that, so our goals that we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to contribute to the software development team. So I've heard that sentiment before, that a lot of people feel that QAs are getting the short end of the stick, and I've had situations where software gets delivered, like the code gets the code gets delivered late, right? And now we have to test it, but honestly, trying to rush the testing is what's going to inevitably lead to issues in production, which we don't want. So we need to be able to take a step back, and it's tough because when we have a sprint ending at a particular date, and we're like, oh, we got to get it done. We feel all this pressure on us, but what's more important? Getting it delivered and having bugs, or taking your time and say, hey, we're going to need an extra day or two before we are comfortable to push this to our customers? Because, like I said, we do not want to have bad customer experience, bad customer service, and have a poor customer satisfaction report. So, does QA get the short end of the stick? They can, if you do not advocate for yourself. Just because your manager might be from a developer background, well, you're not from a developer background. Well, maybe you are, but let's say you are now. You're not a developer. You are QA. You have to advocate for QA and express and explain why you're doing the things the way that you're doing, and why, if you're getting the code or whatever it is that you're testing, the software, a day or two before delivery, that you might not make it. Especially if all the software engineers are working on their own thing, and then now with a day or two left in the sprint, you get like 4 or 5 different stories that need to be tested. That's not going to work out in your best favor. So you need to be an advocate. You need to say, okay, here is the way that we're working. Here are the metrics that we're tracking. Here is what we have in place. And in order for us to have enough time to be able to test, we need to get it delivered by this date. Or we need to do progressive testing. Or we need to have reliable automated tests and unit tests, API tests, all these type of things, so that the manual testing effort is minimal, and that while development is being done, you can be contributing to adding more to the automated tests. See, there's very many strategies that if we would not complain about how, our lot in our company, not in life, but our lot in the company is not right and things like that, we can start thinking about the solutions. So one of the solutions that I employ is, after I get my test plan done of what are the scenarios, and I have a conversation with the developers about it, now I'm going to see, okay, what can I do? Can I start to automate? Can I start staging data so that once it's done, ready to go, I can either start running my automation test, my new automation test, or I can finish it up, or I can now do the testing. And now we're a lot more further. And because I had the conversation earlier with the developers, like I was mentioning earlier, we don't have to. We're at less risk for having defects popping up. We're at less risk because we did the ground lifting. We had conversations during our refinement. We had conversations during the planning. We had conversations about it during the stand up. We had a meeting where we talked about, okay, this is what I'm going to be looking for testing, and the developers are telling me, okay, yeah, but you didn't consider this. We're going to be touching this part as well. We're going to want to test this, and that right there is how we work together, so that you can lessen the blow of when things are getting delivered. One more thing before we wrap it up. If you see that stories are like too big, too heavy, then advocate for breaking the stories up into smaller bite-sized pieces, so that, okay, the developer, they have, like, instead of an 8-point story, it now goes down to like a 3, which is smaller deliverable, where you can test that and deploy that while they start building the new part. So let's say within the first 3 days, they finish the first part and you test it and you deploy it. And now while they're working on the next part, once that's ready, you test it and you deploy it. And then now within the last few days, they finish the last part and you have a very small part to test and to deploy. Continuous delivery, continuous deployment, continuous testing. All right. So I think that those are the ways that you can navigate the field. Is there bias against testers? There could be some places. I don't feel any bias against me at my company, and I don't think I've ever really felt much bias. Like, there's been times that things get delivered late, but I try to not let it be the norm, and we have to advocate for, doing things the right way. All right. So hopefully that gave you some insight. Hopefully that helped. Okay.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.